Well, nice to see some familiar faces, but I'm more happy to see even newer faces that I hope to get to know you. So yes, my name is Javier Ferreira Gonzalez. I'm coming from Saxion, University of Applied Science in Enschede, where I work as an associate professor, as a lecturer, doing things with embedded systems and federated embedded systems, things that are running in the background. And moreover, I would like to talk a little bit about an idea and a kind of a project proposal that we worked kind of half a year ago with some partners from the demand community, right? Some maybe a teaser, we were not able to submit it. So right now I think the idea was quite nice, and we are looking for following it up, right? So I think so we are open to see your requests, your demands, your challenges, so you can name them, right? And I want to go a little bit through it today. So yeah, the name is TRIAD, which stands for Trustable, Responsible and Inclusive Framework for Secure Data Sharing in Energy Transition. So this proposal was focused from the user-centric perspective, right? So we wanted to kind of look at what are the needs of the users from a data space in terms of enabling data sharing, right? So there is question, okay, why do I need to share my data? Why do I need to share what do I need to help my municipality doing congestion management? And who is looking at my data? And what are they using my data for, if it's also for other purposes, right? So we wanted to come up with this kind of trusted platform, right? And responsible and also transparent. So we see where the data goes and who is using the data. Maybe it's very ideally, right? Maybe don't know if we will be able to achieve it, but at least we wanted to work on that, right? So the agenda for today is a little bit, I would like to give you some context. I see that some people here are not really familiar with the energy transition, perhaps. So I'll give you a little bit of snapshot of how is the current situation. I mean, the video shown at the beginning was giving a very good snapshot. Also a little bit about what Saxion has been working in the background over the last years with some examples of some projects that we work. Also, one initiative, European initiative that we joined, which is the Bridge Initiative. And also the gap that we found and that we wanted to work, and also a call out to you, right, to follow up. So, first question, maybe, I mean, where we are here, we are at, Aleander, I guess many people know it, but who has never seen this picture on the right? Raise your hand. Yeah, a few people. Yeah, right. So if I explain a little bit about that picture, there's a picture of how the current energy network from DSOs and TSOs is operating today, right? Meaning that the network cannot provide more energy in many areas in the Netherlands. It's operating at its peak capacity, right? And there are many reasons for that, and I guess Aleander can explain much more than me, right? But one of the main things is, of course, the renewable energies, the electrification, right? The mobility are pushing the boundaries, right, of this kind of problem. Also about data, right? And the energy transition, of course. There's a lot of coordination in the energy transition, and data exists, but doesn't flow, right? We've seen already municipalities working, DSOs working, but how are they talking to each other? And also the users, how do they, control things, right? Just a question also. So the thing is, sometimes, I can share my data, but okay, I need to send an NDA, we need to look at the GDPR, and it's a lengthy process that will delay a problem that is existing today. And also we are, demanding everybody to, okay, you should act, you should work on it, you should fix the problem, right? But how? I don't have the data. I don't know what tools. How can I do my management of my electricity, right? In my neighborhood or in my energy community. So participation in us, but when things don't go wrong, sometimes, there are enforcements, right? In terms of restrictions, okay, don't use electricity at a certain time of the day, and if you use it, penalizations, right? So because of course the grid is already congested. So now I would like to introduce you something that has not yet been presented. And I would like to ask first, is anybody from Het Normo here? Oh, nice, thank you. So please correct me if I say something incorrect, right? But
this is my drawing, so...
yes. So there was some questions about what initiatives are running, right, currently. And the introduction of the energy law in 2026, right, has identified the development of an entity with this nice, super nice Dutch word, right, gegevensuitwisseling entiteit. So the data exchange entity, right, that will coordinate and will take the responsibility, right, to do the data exchange operations at the grid management, right? Not sure how deep or in which layers they operate. I think they operate probably in the TSO, DSO, and I'm not sure if at the local level or the lower level they operate, but still is the entity that is responsible for doing these things, right? But going back to the project that we were working, right? So it's nice that this is happening, right? But does legal compliance means collaboration and willingness to share data, right? It's a big question, and yeah, I have my opinions about it, right? Sometimes it's good, but yeah, also we see that, sure, it's nice that the GUE has been implemented, but how does it coordinate it also with municipalities, local energy communities, citizens, right? And of course, this is a very complex network of many dependencies and many problems, right, that needs to play things, but we see that the coordination and interoperability is a challenge, right, these days. So yeah, as I say, we need a complementary approaches, right, to fill this gap and to enable the data sharing challenge. So now I would like to go a little bit dive a little bit in some of the projects that we have been working, right? So we will present the MOI Energy Control Business Park, Ecofactorite. I will also, as I said before, present some European projects, and I will also cover the EU Bridge initiative, which I think is also a nice angle to the data space thing. So this project is still running. It's a project that we are running with multiple partners from the University of Twente, BDL, Scholt Energy, and Ecofactorite in Apeldoorn. It's a business park, business terrain, right? Where they own the net and they are trying to come up with innovative solutions to manage their energy, right? In this industrial area, right? So for that, colleagues in our research group, they are working on, together with the University of Twente, working on digital twin solutions, right? To simulate and also to control the business operations, right? Things that are happening here, of course, in challenges, again, now we have companies operating, they need to share their data. There is a lot of private information in their operations, in their energy data, right? So again, issues of how data is shared, who is seeing the data, because the data needs to be shared in order to control the whole terrain for the optimal operation of the grid, right? Now I would like to zoom in a little bit on another project that finalized last year. This was the Horizon 2020 sustenance project, where 4 countries, we were collaborating, right, with 21 partners in total, with one single goal, right, to apply global solutions to help local carbon neutral energy communities, right? And the solutions were from all possible angles, not only technological, but also from societal, also from legal perspective, right? Things that can be done or cannot be done in different countries. So we have use cases, for instance, in Poland with house communities of apartments, rural villages in India. We have PV installations in the Netherlands, and also we have local communities in Denmark, in Aalborg, right? And we all share knowledge and see from technical solutions, from legal frameworks, that things to enable local carbon energy communities, which, disclaimer, is not that easy, and sometimes law tells you you cannot do things that you would like to do, right? So there is a lot of things to do. In the Netherlands, we were working with two energy communities. One of them is the House energy community. Don't know, anybody familiar? Yeah, okay, nice. So it's an energy community in the town of Olst in Deventer, right? With 23 households and where the inhabitants build their homes, highly sustainable using renewable materials, right? It's about the Earthship concept. So if you search on it a little bit, it's really nice. So it's really a pioneer community, right, in sustainability. So they look at sustainability on different angles and different, not only on energy, but also in the way they eat, in the way they dress. So it's really nice. So in here we deploy systems to try to control the energy in the community. And moreover, we have a large PV parking with a large battery, 120 kilowatt battery, so it's quite large. And there were some EV chargers, and also they are discussing their solutions to share local energy between people and also between the community battery, right? But yeah, we have some challenges also that, interoperability also, and more important there, we wanted to coordinate things with the community, with the municipality, and also with the DSO in order to do like what is called grid support, right? My community tried to help the grid, and the grid gives me signals, so the DSOs will send me a signal, oh, can you help me at this time of the day? I might be congested, can you reduce your consumption or can you provide some energy, right? And here is where we enter with some issues with NDAs. It took a year and a half, but finally signed. So finally we are doing some pilots with them to do this type of grid support solutions. And the other community was the Vrindener community. So it's nearby Ardehausen, also in the same municipality. But in this case, these houses were built by architects with very net zero design. So highly sustainable, large PV panels, and here is where elderly people will spend their lives, right? So in here we were also looking about how we can coordinate the energy in this community. And again, similar issues, right? The local coordination was not possible without compromising, right, the privacy or sending sensitive data. So, what we found? Yeah, technology works, right? So it was okay. The technology side, I think, was, of course, there are some challenges. I will name them now. But most important, it went back to trust and collaboration, right? How can we enable that? That was a little bit lacking in some of the projects that we are working. So, and users, again, get back to us to say, okay, who use my data? Is AI there? Is AI doing something with my data? Of course, we need to inform them, and then we inform them that not. But all these questions were coming up to us, right? About the governance or transparency. So yeah, we thought like, okay, privacy and sovereignty at the edge. So we also empower the users, right? So we want to kind of provide solutions for the users so they are able to verify and trust where the data goes, right? That's why the TRIAD, we wanted to focus on these topics. Also the governance, right? For what I call the hybrid or federated data spaces. I don't know if you have counted the number of data spaces that has been mentioned here, right? And everybody's working on his data space, and how do we coordinate that, right? Everybody says, yeah, I have the best data space, but okay, things also need to operate among data spaces and cross-sector and GUE, right? So how do we do that? And as far as we know, yeah, no validated model exists, right? Of course, still we are perhaps on the technology, the readiness level of the data space. We are at the very beginning of deploying, right? But I think we need to start thinking also how ecosystems will talk to each other. Something was mentioned before about the business models, right? I think from Bart. We also see that we need to think about the value and incentives, right? For the data sharing, participation. So what is for me to share my data and what do I get in return, right? If I need to help somebody else. And something was mentioned before about interoperability and integration. Also big question also. I think something was asked before about the models, right? And what type of models. To me, that goes about also interoperability and how do you define your data exchange and your semantics and your way of talking between the actors. So I think this is a very important aspect to think about. Now, I would like to just briefly mention a little bit about the Bridge initiative. I don't want to make some marketing, but I think it's something that is quite nice, actually, I think, because it's a kind of meta project from the European Commission, where they conglomerate all kind of research and innovation European projects, right, in the area of smart grid, energy storage, energy islands, and digitalization, right? So for that, they have 4 working groups on different aspects, right? And yeah, they meet regularly, multiple times a year. There are different actions taken on different angles. And yeah, they deliver some technical documents, some reference architectures, and yeah, and reports. How many of you are familiar on the Bridge initiative? Oh, nice. Yeah, good. Yeah, and on the DERA framework, have you ever seen this one? No. Okay, well, that's good, because then you get to learn something new today. So the DERA stands from the Data Exchange Reference Architecture, right? So it's a model architecture that defines kind of a solution or operation. Another question, maybe, how many of you are familiar with the SGAM model? So the SGAM model is quite of standard for the energy applications, right? It's a model, it's the smart grid architecture model, right? Where the DERA architecture model follows this SGAM model with the kind of breaking down in different layers, right? From components, communication, information, the functions, and the business. And they also relate in how these different services relate to each other in the level, and also between the TSO, DSO, and different type of levels. So it's a multi-dimensional model. You can take a look into it, right? But the good thing here is that you can identify it in your solution, your use case, the different services and the different things that are happening in your application, in the municipality or in your community, right? So you can start naming it into it. And I think why I wanted to zoom in into this, I want you to look at this thing in the middle, right? So this thing in the middle is the one that allows kind of federated services, right? Between what we call the local and the federated systems, right? Through a secure federated data exchange, aka a data space connector, right? So I think that's a very kind of, and I think this is where, policies and governance models enforce the trust, sovereignty, and interoperability, right? Between the different systems. I just want to, I have 2 more slides. I want to just go back a little bit to the beginning about the TRIAD, the proposal that we were working half a year ago, right? It was working towards the NWO kick call, data sharing for the energy transition. So our focus, as I say, it was to combine bridging the top-down regulation from the GUE that I explained, the policies, from the bottom up, right? So we were looking, okay, what is the perspective from the bottom up, from the users, and from the users, companies, municipalities, right? What do they need from a data space in order to do the energy transition, right? Through this platform where we look at the trust, we look at responsibility and inclusiveness, right? Some of the partners are here present today. I'm happy to see them, of course. But we were also working with the municipality of Enschede, and Nexis from our side, who was also in there, and of course the universities from the MAN were there. So I think that's why I think today I wanted to bring this kind of topic into this presentation, because I think this community, the MAN community, is the right place to discuss these aspects, right? So then is my last slide. So a little bit of a call out for everybody to, so we are looking to do a follow-up on these ideas, right? So we want to bring new perspective, new partners, new challenges that perhaps we didn't consider. Perhaps we are also very ambitious, so we might need to size it down, but I think it's good to put in the table all the different aspects and focus later, right? So yeah, we are looking for partners or who might be interested to join us, right, in the next journey. So yeah, you can contact me, send yeah, I'm interested. So we are scheduling to have a workshop in the coming months, right, to discuss all these topics. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. One question, what you're trying to solve with TRIAD. I happen to work in data spaces in logistics, for example, and in the Netherlands we already have the BDI, Basis Data Infrastructure project, which has the trust part. Are you familiar with the iShare trust framework?
No, but I will look at it.
Yeah, I think that's because that's been in the making for a few years now already. It's been used at several locations, which, looking at what you're trying to solve, has a very big overlap. So it might be interesting to figure out, because I think most of the data spaces start out with the similar, how do you say, generic problem, technology on sharing and how to get access, which is universal if it's either an electricity related data space or health or something else. So you see that multiple data spaces have covered those topics a little bit. So I'm just wondering if we can learn more from there and start focusing on the energy part, the common language discussion we already had, which I think is a good one. If we could probably learn something from what iShare already did and others.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to look at what iShare does and also how does connects to the energy transition, right? And the data related to the energy transition, because here there are really different granularities of data. So when we talk about real-time data, we were talking about 5 minutes, 1 hour data, right? Different purposes, different goals for the data in the energy transition. So, and also different trust levels or trust. So that was what we were wanted to in this project in TRIAD. We have one work package working on specifically on that, how to define these matrices, right? Mm-hmm. For the trust and for access control for the data. So that, but we will look really, it will be nice to look at the iShare concept and how does this align to the energy transition, of course.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you talk about the trust, I also think that there is a lot of work to do in data maturity and so on by all the stakeholders. Is that also an element of the proposal you want to achieve?
Can you define what means data maturity for you?
What already was mentioned in the previous presentation of Bart is that citizens share their data in their community with no common sense in what they are sharing, and we see that a lot. So the awareness of what data do I share, what impact could it be, what can others do with their data, that, for example, that questions must be built. Yeah. Otherwise they have learning by accidents, and that's not what we want to achieve with trust. So True. That's where I was looking for.
Nice, that's a nice question, thank you very much. Yeah, we see this and perhaps, I don't know if it's correct, but we call it the literacy on the energy transition, right? And it's also an important aspect that, for instance, in sustenance project, we co-design these solutions with the inhabitants. At the same time that they are co-designing, they are learning, right, how the things work under the hood. And then they become more literate in order to know, okay, why do this data is for and what do they need? So maybe it's related to this kind of the link between data maturity and literacy, perhaps, what you were asking, right? And that was also some aspect that when we want to do this user-centric approach, we want to also come along with the users, right? To explain them without coming into the details with all these complex diagrams, technical solutions, but at least what is your objectives on sharing data, right? And I think the Data Space Support Center, in that sense, they have a very nice kind of flow to discover why do you need to share data and for what purpose. That helps you to identify the needs for data sharing. Sharing data for sharing data.
No, that's not. But what you see is that data sharing agreements are made between the data provider and the data consumer. But the data provider have data about citizens, and citizens are not aware what the data provider shared the data for, and so that part is somewhere
Yeah.
I am looking for.
Exactly, and I think that's some aspect that we also thought that this needs to be worked on. We need to get transparent on who is using the data during one period for what purpose. So then you get this type of transparency tools. That's what we thought in this TRIAD proposal, to come up with kind of transparency tools that sometimes they are provided already in the data space implementations. In some of the data space implementations already, this logging of these transactions are already there. But how can we make it transparent to the users so they become trust? They increase their trust in the system and in the transparency, right? Yeah, thank you.
One more final question, perhaps, from...
Thank you for the super nice presentation. I was wondering, is there some overview somewhere of different data spaces, what kind of data is inside, and who can use it for what purpose and this kind of thing?
Yes, I think there are quite a number, and I guess Bart can also help, but I perhaps will forward you, if you are technically interested on the implementation of different data spaces, there is the data space radar from IDSA. I think there you get an overview of all the current implementations, right? But of course, as Bar also mentioned, and I think it was Bar or was Memo, I think there are different sectors. And there is a lot of different data spaces for different sectors, right? And different type of implementations. And so it's, as also Bart indicated, it's a bit of a rabbit hole that you need to navigate, right? And yeah, go through that, I think. IDSA, yeah, International Data Space Association. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Javier.